Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We hope you're keeping very, very safe and well. What a show we've got in store for you. What a show we've got in store. What a result. We've just come off the back of Tottenham Hotspur absolutely thumping Aston Villa at Villa Park. I'm delighted to be joined by three wonderful guests on the Last Word on Spurs. But if you're listening to the show for the first time, and where have you been? Of course, on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're on Audio Boom, because we're on different audio platforms. We're, of course, on Twitter at Last Word on Spurs. We're on Facebook and Instagram too. And also on a night like this, we're delighted to say we're also live on YouTube. And what a night to be live on YouTube on the back of a result like that. And joining me, you'll see three familiar faces on the Last Word on Spurs. First up, I've got, a regular alongside me in the wonderful words of Frankie Major. It won't be short for them tonight. Frankie, what are we witnessing at the moment with Antonio Conte's Tottenham? I know you're trying to keep calm. I know our friend Anthony Costa's trying to keep calm. Can we keep calm, Frankie?
No, we can't, because we're back, Ricky. This is champagne football that we're seeing from Tottenham Hotspur. But we've got a proper front three. We're playing, some of the patterns of play that we're playing are outstanding. And I know it was poor in the first half today, but we dug in, we ground it out. And in the second half, we were explosive and we blew them away. So, no, we can get excited, Spurs fans. This is, I said off air, this is the first time we've won 4 league games on the bounce since November 2020. We have the third most points in the league since Antonio Conte managed his first game on November the 7th. And our front three have the most goal involvements in the league since, I think, the beginning of February. 2 new signings hit the ground running. Rick, we can get excited. We're allowed to be positive. It's been a long, long time since the heights of the Pochettino days, but I can feel something building here. And Conte is definitely not walking, because that was all the talk and the murmurs, wasn't it, a few months back? In fact, from what he was doing in those press conferences and interviews, he's got the reaction he wanted. So Spurs fans, the towels are off. We can get excited. We've got a proper side now, and we're going places with this manager.
That's the most positive I've ever heard Frankie Major in the Last One on Spurs. So something is really going on here. And I'm not just saying it's down to this man alone, but I want to say, since he's been back in that stadium, Spurs have been unbeaten. So it's all down to this man, of course. The voice of Tottenham Hotspur. We've got the wonderful Paul Coyte back on the Last One on Spurs. Paul, are you getting excited?
No, I'm not actually. I think Frank's gone over the top, and I think we're going to end up 7th. So that's no. Of course I am. Of course I am. It's yeah. I think we all did the same thing. I was watching the Arsenal game, and that was more nerve-wracking for me the last 10 minutes, especially when they scored. So we've got that out of the way, and then thinking now, how many times in the years that we've been watching Spurs, now do we think, now there's the chance that we can go into 4th, we can go above Arsenal, we're going to be playing away, we're playing terrific, what's going to happen? And, you're like that. And, I'm there. And I think this is quietly between us. I think we've turned that corner. We did it under Pochettino. I remember that time. I think I mentioned it on this podcast as well. I remember speaking to players there at the time. They said, we just can't get it. Because remember at the start under Maurizio, it just wasn't very good. And then it clicked. And I feel as if that's happened. Yeah, we were wobbly. Let's face it, we were wobbly in the first half. But then when we start to play, I thought it was terrific. So yes, in answer to your question, Ricky, I am very, very excited, mate.
And it is down to you, Paul, right?
Of course it is. And it's all down to me. Yeah, it's all down to me.
Glad we clarified that. Now, listen, also delighted to have this man back on the Last Word on Spurs. It was a late call, and he answered it for us. We've got the brilliant stand-up comedian with us. Obviously, Jake Lambert in the house. Jake, thank you so much. Lovely to have you back on Last Word on Spurs. You have not stopped grinning, Jake, since we've began. So I know something special is going on here, right? I'm going to unmute you, Jake. Go for it.
Oh, are we on? Yeah, I've been grinning since, I had a lovely wake-up message from you this morning to ask when I'd come on. But then I think the grin probably started at the final whistle, Arsenal v Brighton, and it just hasn't left. There's a couple of times when it started to leave during that first half, but it came back. But it's phenomenal. Genuinely, I think if I'd woke up this morning and it wasn't a message from Rick, if it was a message from a genie saying I've got 3 wishes, all my wishes would have come true today. So it might as well have happened. It's phenomenal.
Brilliant. Look at that. Well, listen, we try. We most certainly do try.
But you didn't have the winner of the National as well, did you?
Give him half hour. We find out.
Oh, right. Well, that's not bad. I hope if you had it each way, then everything's been great for you.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah.
When I saw the green
170.
tent come out for mine, and I just thought, no, the Aston Villa game, I'm a bit worried about that. But everything was fair. We're all good.
We're all so excited. You can tell the mood is buzzing. The comments go absolutely ballistic. Thank you so much for all the love. What a show we've got in store. Let's kick things off. I mean, I will say we will be getting live updates of Antonio Conte's press conference. And for Jake's sake, the last time we said that on here, Jake, if you remember, we weren't sure if Conte was going to be here. Jake was obviously last on for the Burnley review, where we felt like for the second time in a row, we were kind of doing a show about now if we had a manager or not. So that's the nature of Last Word on Spurs this season. But thankfully, this show will be a bit more settled. We hope the man's in place to stay because, my God, what a performance we saw today. Frankie, let's kick the show off with you. Spurs really now find themselves, I do want to say it quietly, as Paul said, firmly in that driving seat for that fourth place spot now. Yet another 4-goal victory. Listen, we did rode our luck at times, especially in that first half. Many would say Villa battered us, to be honest with you. But Spurs were just so clinical on the break. And we now move 3 points clear of Arsenal, beaten today by Brighton. And also, of course, Manchester United beaten as well. It seems, Frankie, don't want to put the mockers on it, that all the momentum is with
Don't
Spurs.
say it. Don't say it. We'll think it, but don't say it. Sorry,
I've done
Ricky,
it.
sorry. I know it's your show. I'm sorry to interrupt, mate, but it just made me nervous for a second there.
No, I think the momentum is with us, and for the first time, as Paul alluded to as well, sometimes under the Pochettino sort of era in the early days, we look disjointed. We'd play well and we'd lose, or we'd throw up a few dodgy results, and then it'd be a click. And I just feel that's happening with Conte at the moment because these, again, 4 wins on the spin. I think is it 7 from the last 9 wins? We're in a good place at the moment. We're playing some fantastic football. We've got lots of confidence, and we've actually, just to slip in a little statistic, which is quite incredible, really, we've actually scored more Premier League goals this season under Conte than Arsenal have under Arteta. And Conte didn't join this club until November. So we're outscoring the team that apparently were in the driving seat. And it just feels like, it feels good at the moment. And it doesn't feel like we're going to show up and put in a crap performance and drop points. It doesn't feel that way anyway. He's getting the very best out of the players. We've seen the levels of some of these players go up a good 10 or 20% from where they were a few months ago. And we've got the most lethal front three in the league at the moment since the turn of the year. And I think that helps because we're scoring so many goals. We're getting clean sheets as well. And we've got the favourable fixtures. Now, next week, we've got Brighton at home. Arsenal play Southampton away. And then they go to Chelsea, I believe, the following midweek. So, and that's a tough game. I mean, Chelsea are no mugs. I know they had a couple of indifferent results, but to put 6 past Southampton today, and they're going to want to bounce back from obviously this little bit that they've had. So I just feel that the stars are aligning for Tottenham. You can tell that the players love it under Conte. They seem to be the actual enthusiasm and joy in their faces. They're enjoying their football again. And the one thing I'd like to say, because as fans, and it's been quite widespread over the last couple of years, Daniel Levy has got a lot of stick from most fans in general. He doesn't do things properly. He doesn't back the managers, etc. But we have got to give him credit for acting swiftly with the appointment of Antonio Conte. He got there fast. Listen to Paratici. He's backed the manager in January by taking huge financial hits on Ndombele. We're still obviously supplementing most of his wage at Lyon. Gio Lo Celso, giving Dele Alli away for free. He was probably worth £100 million 3.5 years ago. And loaning out Brian Hill and getting the 2 in from Juventus. So he's backed the manager. So we have to, whether you like him or not, or you know, if you leave Ian or Enoch out or whatever it may be, you have to give the man credit for changing things at Tottenham and putting this all in place. Because without those decisions that were ultimately down to him, regardless of what he was being told by Paratici, he made those decisions. So we have to give him some credit. And we have to give Conte most of the credit, in my opinion, for this turnaround, because he's a truly world-class manager, and he's responsible for this, for getting Kane back, for getting Son, the most prolific non-penalty goal scorer in the league this season. Mm-hmm. And he's just a fantastic coach. We're playing fantastic front foot Tottenham Hotspur football again, and it's enjoyable, Rick and gentlemen and listeners. And I think we can all agree with that this is the best place, in my opinion, that the club's been in since the heights of the Pochettino days.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to disagree with much you said there, Frankie. I mean, Courtney, coming over to you. Listen, that's a big win for Spurs, a statement win, many would say. I mean, we did really dig in that first half. But, you just feel Spurs' superiority at the moment. It really is shining through. And you recapped it there for us at the start. Arsenal losing, United losing. That top four now feels very much within our grasp. And then when you add to that, the performances from Decky, Son, Kane, Lloris stand out as well today. Just feels like at the moment, Paul, everything is coming together.
It is. Yeah, you're right. It is. You've got players that are now, we know pretty much what the best 11 is now. And then they're playing regularly. There's not too much chopping and changing, I don't think, with the side. And I mean, I was very confident going into today, but then again, you never know whether it's your heart or whether it's your head that's actually thinking how confident you are. First half, you can see what Steven Gerrard's thinking. If you get at Spurs, it's like the old Dad's Army thing. They don't like it up them. There were fouls there that probably they got away with a lot more than they probably should have done, but they really got stuck in and we didn't like it. And that's often been the case before when we've played teams that, always going to be hard to break down, but eventually they can't keep that up. They couldn't keep it up, but we kept going. We just took it and then came out the second half and then just pretty much blew them away with the football that we can play. The football's terrific. I think, you look at Kulusevski, you look at, you look at you look at your lookalike as well there, Ricky. It's made such a difference. And it's the first time, I think, for a long time that we've actually made signings that have come into the team and we're thinking that is improving the side. It's been a long time, I think, since we've been able to say that. And it really has made a huge difference to the way we're playing. The confidence is there. So there's no reason why why it can't carry on. We are in the driving seat now, and we've seen it a million times before. We know all the history, and okay, we don't know. We're going to worry, and now we're going to throw it away. I really don't think so. I can say it with my fingers crossed, but I believe, like you've said, this is the best that we've seen Tottenham for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, I've got three real straight talkers on that don't normally go too excited on Spurs. There's something is going on here. So, I mean, listen.
It's because we're so long in the tooth, you see. That's what it is.
Yeah,
it's that fear. I mean, it's like, I remember, I remember getting told, this was the Arsenal game years ago. You remember the Danny Rose, the Danny Rose goal? I remember coming out at half time, and I remember it was David Ginola, sorry to go off on my, but David Ginola was waiting for half time, and he was going to come out, and he wasn't ready and he wasn't in the tunnel. And so all I was saying was, we've seen the goal of the season. Let's see the Danny Rose goal. I mean, I got into a lot of trouble over this, but the main trouble I got into was you were tempting fate that we were going to beat Arsenal. I said, I wasn't tempting fate. So that's the thing. We're all very fearful of tempting fate. So that's what we've just got to be careful of. We all can think it, but we've just got to.
We're a very superstitious fan base, Coyte.
We are.
We've been through a lot,
yeah,
in our modern history. So I usually don't get carried away, but this is, again, we're in the best place we've been for a good few years, and there's no
doubt about that. I agree.
Yeah. I must also say, guys, listen, the comments are going ballistic. Thank you so much for all the love and support. We'll try and share as many as we can. Evening to you all. Listen, we're all very excited. We're all trying to keep our feet on the ground. But listen, we're all flying at the moment. Jake, coming over to you. As I mentioned, it has really been a standout performance from Tottenham today. Statement, as I mentioned, and it feels weird that Spurs seem to be at the moment in control of their own destiny in a season which has seen obviously Nuno come in and leave the club, and Conte now really starting to really find his Spurs team. And Spurs have scored 12 goals in the last 3 games, and Harry Kane has not scored one of them. Jake, what is going on at the moment with Tottenham Hotspur?
Well, that's the problem with being a one-man team. So it's something we've been burdened with, I'm afraid. But
there you go. That's what he's paid for. That's what he's paid for.
But what's great to see, and Frank was saying this before when we started, that usually when something's in our control, you just go, well, I don't want it to be in Tottenham's control, because usually we don't handle it very well. The amount of times we've seen the teams around us drop points, then we'll go and do the same. But I just feel like today I didn't have the nerves that I normally would. I thought we'd come away with the 3 points. And now that the top 4's in our control, I don't feel nervous that we've got it. I don't sort of feel like we're better when we're the underdogs. I feel like actually we've got control over this. And even today, as we all know, usually with Tottenham, it seems to be the pattern often is with a game that we'll dominate for the first 25 minutes, and then we'll concede a goal we shouldn't concede, similar to sort of Newcastle recently. and then we'll go and be fine. But today was backwards. It was that we scored early and then we just sort of got pummeled for the next sort of 45 minutes. But I don't mind stuff like that happening when we've got Conte because, well, when we go on to win, that is, because you just know over the next week they'll be working on what went wrong in that first half to make sure it didn't happen again. So little mistakes like that can usually cost you. They don't cost us with this team because you just know that we will, as we've done against Leicester, as we did against Watford, it might not click straight away, but we will always come back stronger. And we seem to have never really made the same mistake twice since Conte's come in.
Absolutely. Jay, just to let you know, I think Spurs is our attack is moving as quick as your Wi-Fi at the moment. Just to give you a heads up, it's it's bouncing around a little bit. Just to give you a heads up, a little bit. Just to give you a heads up.
I've got the golf on the sky. Let me turn all this off because I've got the internet going for. Sorry,
it's so slow. Nuno's still in charge. It's just.
I was back in 8th place. I was still in 8th. I haven't got into the top 4 yet. That's how far back we've gone.
We're in the Champions League. It was so slow there.
But he has made a great point that was a big opportunity today, and the pressure was on going into that game. Obviously, the players were fully aware of the results that had happened previously, and we took the opportunity, and that's encouraging. You know, for the mentality sort of side of things, that we've gone there. Again, it was a terrible first half. Let's not have any doubts about that. And Hugo Lloris was superb in the first half. He kept us in it. The save from Jacob Ramsey with his right arm was unbelievable.
Yeah.
That reaction.
You know what, Frankie? I want to mention Lloris in a second, but also, you said about stats there. Spurs have now scored more Premier League goals this season under head coach Antonio Conte, appointed in November, than Arsenal have under manager Mikel Arteta. I think throughout the season. I mean, that's just incredible, isn't it? Yeah, unbelievable.
It is.
When you think about the amount of goals we're scoring and the ratio of them.
Well, we've always had Kane and Son, and we all know are top elite footballers. But Kulusevski has been an unbelievable signing. Obviously Bentancur as well, but the numbers he puts up, the way that he looks after the ball, he's so intelligent. The way that he gets us up the pitch, he's so direct as well. When he drives it, he's got two great feet, as we saw from the cross against Newcastle for Son's goal. And he's been a phenomenon. And if you remember back to January when the window shut, apparently Aston Villa had the best window because they signed Luca Dean and Coutinho, or Newcastle had a better window than us. And we'd seen 5 minutes of Kulusevski, and Spurs Twitter said he couldn't run. He runs in treacle. He's no good. And I was always quite vocal, not sort of blowing my own trumpet, sounding like I know it all. But I knew Bentancur was a fantastic signing because I've seen him play for the last few years, and he's top draw. But we are. I mean, these two players. Obviously, the other players deserve credit, particularly Kane, the way that he's turned his form around from the first half of the season. But these two signings, in my opinion, we won the January transfer window. I don't see a side probably in Europe that had a better window than us with hindsight, which is always the easiest way of looking at things. But those two signings have transformed this team and taken us up a level. And if we can have more Kulusevskis and more Bentancurs in the summer, obviously Conte stays, Kane signs a new deal, then the way that we've played and the way that we've turned this around, then we'll be in an even better place, which is an incredible thought.
See, it's great. It's great to that we've got Kulusevski and we've signed Bentancur as well. But is there part of it that is some of the signings that we've made recently over the past few years that have probably been a similar age because they're thinking 21 years old, what was he, 35 million? This is great. This is great business. It's great business if it works. But obviously we need to bring them in. We can bring them in from abroad, but we never know exactly whether it is actually going to work because we've had some players in the past that just haven't really been up to it. So let's just hope that it isn't going to be a case of, well, that's how it's going to work from now on because they're young and because they're cheaper. Did we get lucky with some of these? I mean, you said, Frankie, you'd seen him. So you were absolutely confident that it was always going to work because we look at some of the other players that we might have signed, and even if, I think of Sanchez. And I'd spoken to people at Ajax that were saying, this guy's unbelievable. But for me, and I'll be honest, I've never really been a huge fan. And I think probably Conte's the same way as well. So really, it's just there's always going to be that gamble in who you buy, if they're young, whether they're actually going to hit the ground running and whether they're going to work for your club.
Well, I think every signing is a gamble. Every signing that you make,
you've got to hope it works out.
So in some ways, if they're coming from abroad,
if they come from abroad,
never played in the Premier League before, because this league, as we know, is like no other. And Conte has said it many times. The pace of the game, the physicality, it's different. And Bentancur, I just felt that we've spoke about it on the shows that I've done before. His CV, the fact that he's been a winner from his Boca Juniors days, and he's just a fantastic footballer. But Kulusevski has surprised me, I'll be totally honest, because that one was a gamble. I'd say it was more of a gamble than Bentancur, because, again, Bentancur, for a 24-year-old, has won 5 or 6 league titles in every league he's played in. He's won. But Kulusevski, it's been incredible. And that's down to Paratici and Conte knowing what's needed for this league. They obviously looked at those 2 opportunities and they've worked. And yeah, maybe there is an element of luck, because Kulusevski, in my opinion, was a very unknown quantity to most Spurs fans, unless you obviously watch a lot of Italian football. But I believe that Paratici and Conte, they know what they're doing. Whatever league you put them in, they're experienced, they've been around the block, they've won together, and I think that they've made the decisions and they've worked out. Yeah,
no, I agree. Jake, come over to you. I do find this stat quite funny because, listen, when you were last on, after that 1-0 defeat at Burnley, Spurs were 8th. We were 7 points behind Man United in 4th. Spurs now 7 games later, they're 6 points ahead of them, and they even lost to them as well. I mean, that just shows you the incredible turnaround of Spurs going on this form, 5 wins in a row, the goals we're scoring, the way we're playing. As I've said, Jake, you know, the team itself now is coming together at the right time, the business end of the season.
Yeah, I feel like, is that okay, my Wi-Fi, before I go into an answer and turns out I'm just talking to me and my cat? Is it working?
We're still a little bit behind. We're still disappointing Nuno as things stand.
Let me try. I've got 2 Wi-Fis. Let me jump onto the other Wi-Fi. Otherwise,
we're all good, Jake.
Lucas Moura's last-minute winner in Ajax. All done.
God, we are going back now. We'll let you adjust that, and we'll come back round to Paul. Paul, listen, you talked about Conte there for a moment. You know,
Who's got 2 Wi-Fis? That's pretty impressive, isn't it? Is it next door? Yeah. Sorry,
I mean, he's just going to move to his other mansion. Give him a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
We'll just helicopter him across. Give me 1 second. When you look at Conte, in terms of most points now since his first game in charge, at City 50, Liverpool 50, Spurs 42. I think I'm right in saying, and the goals scored, 48 City, 48 Liverpool, 47 Spurs. I mean, Conte, we've got to just stick on him for a second. He's transforming this team, isn't he, Paul?
He is absolutely transforming the team. It's, and also, and Frankie mentioned that about what the chairman's done, and I'm not going to start getting into all that. But if we look at it, every manager, maybe apart from Nuno, let's be honest, has been the manager that has always made us think, you know what, this is going to work. Even Mourinho, you sort of think, well, we're all saying it, well, he's a winner. That was the thing we were all saying. It never worked out that way. But even if we go back a long way, every manager, I think pretty much that has been appointed has been the right one. So Conte's come in. He's the best manager, absolutely. I'd love to know exactly what he does, exactly what it is. Is it the confidence that he instills? Is it the way he tells them to play football? Is it because he's doing pretty much what we all want? I don't think anybody looks at anything and thinks this is crazy. I think it's always the early time when a manager comes in that I mentioned just now. It's always going to take a little time to actually gel. And it has. And he's absolutely the man. I mean, it wasn't long ago that we were talking about whether he's going to last, whether he's going to walk. And there is absolutely no way. And we said that. There's no way he would be walking out, even if we weren't doing as well as we are at the moment. This is a huge project for them, whether it be a vanity project, whether it be something that he just loves the management and it's a challenge to him, whatever way. This is going to work out for him, and hopefully it's going to work out for us as well. So he's the right guy, and obviously we're really excited about it.
Yeah, it's not as bad a job, Coyte, as many made it out to be, because it's in London. Every manager, Mourinho and Conte, have both said that our training ground, they've only seen similar in American football, in the NFL.
Yeah.
We've got a beautiful stadium. We are a big club. We've got a big fan base.
Yeah.
So it's not as bad a job. And he's also paid, is it £15 million a year?
That's helpful, yeah.
That's helpful. So how many Spurs managers have ever walked? Jack Santini was the last one that walked in from memory. So I think there was a lot of hysteria that whilst he was moulding his team together. But another thing that you just mentioned, what makes him so special, I think it's a lot of different variables, obviously, but the intensity. If you look at the elite managers now, the Guardiolas, the Klopps, the Tuchels, they've got that intensity, that boundless energy that never stops and never ends. And he's got that in abundance. And for us to have got him when, in my opinion, he was the best available manager in world football, we're lucky. And
absolutely right. And I love the fact that he wears his heart on his sleeve. I'd said that as well before, whereas people are, we don't want our manager to do that. Why the hell not? Why would you not? I want to see someone that feels the pain. I want to see someone that feels the joy. You want to see your manager jumping up and down. It probably all started with Alf Ramsey sitting there in the 1966 World Cup final, not moving. Yeah, I don't want a manager like that. I want someone that's going to feel the same as we do. And he obviously does. I just want something because you feel the passion and the fact that he loves the game and he loves what he's doing. And that's great for me.
Yeah.
I like the honesty as well. No more cows crossing roads, no more riddles, very honest. And I think you can only, as a fan, I think you appreciate that more. And some people have said previously, his outbursts, I'll get on with it. He's too honest in a way. That's only going to affect the team in a negative way. But it's turned out it hasn't, and it's had the desired reaction, which is fantastic. But I agree with you there that I want my manager to be honest.
Yeah, I'm loving some of the comments coming through here. Jake's moving as quick as Toro Mings did in that shot. We've got Last Word on Spurs now reverting to a front three. Who says we don't switch formation in game here? Who says we don't? For listeners and audio, they're thinking, what the hell is going on? For those watching on YouTube, we have just gone with Frankie now moving on to the right. Jake back onto the left, Paul down the centre, of course, and me on the left wing. This could change throughout the show, depending on obviously where you're watching and where you're listening, and also the size of your TV. So we'll leave that down to you. We've got to talk about the front three, guys, before we do touch upon the game in more detail. Jake, let's come back to you. Listen, we're on the second Wi-Fi here. We're not going to discuss, Jake,
here we go.
Illustrious Wi-Fi connection, although Nord will get a shout out very, very soon. Most goals at the moment scored, Jake, in 2022. Son with 9, Kane with 8. Most assists provided, Kane 7, Kulusevski 6. This front three, Jake, is just cooking right now, isn't it?
It's amazing. It's sorry, is this okay before I go?
I think we're okay. Yeah, I think we're okay.
Yeah?
We're okay.
Sorry.
I'm loving the hand. The hand will dictate what happens here, Jake. You go for it.
So I'm allowed to either have a good football team or a good Wi-Fi. I can't have both. Sorry. But it's the second one's here to do the job. It's like Bergwijn. Just when you need it, it'll come on and do the job. We're all right. But it's great. I mean, to have a front three, it's always wanted. We had a good front three when we had Mourinho, but for some reason we weren't allowed to have Bale for too long. So now we've got it, and it works. I mean, what is it now? Is it 9 goals in the last 2 games? None from Kane. But you can't. There's no. If he was any other striker, any something like that, they'd start to talk. But with him, he's still pulling the strings. He's that good. Without him, we wouldn't be scoring those goals. It's just phenomenal. And I mean, I was always a big fan of Kulusevski. He's just sort of he's unorthodox. I remember hearing somebody, I think on this podcast before, say that they're a bit worried that maybe when the team starts to figure him out, that maybe when they suss him out a bit, it won't be as effective. But I don't think you can suss him out because it seems to change what he does every time. I think last time I was on here, I described like Ronaldo as being like a racehorse and Kulusevski being like a workhorse. It's not the most glamorous thing to look at, but it just gets the job done. And it's all we've needed. And it's a bit like when we used to have Bale and Lennon, there was always that thing that whenever Lennon was injured, Bale couldn't deliver the same because he needed that balance. And I feel like now this is just exactly what Son needed as well, what Kane needed, just knowing that he can have other options. Because before it used to be, Son had the ball, all the defenders would go towards Kane. If Kane had the ball, they'd go towards Son. But now they can't because you just never know where that attack is going to come from. And as soon as we get wing backs who can deliver a lot more, I mean, Doherty's doing great at the minute, but who can deliver how Conte wants, then it will be unstoppable because suddenly you've got, when one of them's got the ball, you've got 4 goal scorers along in front of goal and you don't know where it can come from.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Jake, you are going to forgive me. You are going to forgive me for this. We are in the Conte era now with you, but we're at the start of the Conte era. We haven't quite got to where we are right now. I'm just going to give you, just to let you know, if we've got a 4G option there, that'll be amazing. If we haven't, the show will go on with the current connection, so don't panic. But just to let you know,
so try on my phone.
We can try on the phone. We can do it. Look at this. Who says we don't try different devices?
My Nokia 5210.
Wi-Fi hasn't been invented when you try that one. I tell you what you do brilliantly is that every time you do freeze, it's on the most perfect pose. Honestly, it's a showbiz man all the way. Every time you freeze, it's like, Like that. It's,
It looks like Parataggi is about to serve a lovely Italian dish. That's what it looks
it's
like.
beautiful.
Mamma mia.
It's fantastic.
Honestly. Superb. Right. Must read a couple of comments here out from Antonio's presser. Look, firstly, Gerrard said on Spurs' front three, they've got two world-class players up top and a young lad from Juve who could certainly be a top player, obviously referring to Kulusevski there. Conte after the game said a strong team, a top team needs to have great character, great personality to be a strong team, because during the game, you know, you can have a period that you have to suffer because your opponent is pushing you a lot. And we saw it definitely in that first half. Conte went on to say that when you play at Villa in this stadium, I don't think there's a team that comes and wins easy. The composure and desire to stay strong in the second half is where we won an important way. For sure, we have to be better when we're under this type of pressure. Matt Doherty, we're going to come on to shortly. He has given us a small update, Conte. He says, I hope there's nothing serious. The doctors are going to check him out tomorrow. Again, he repeats, hope nothing serious, but he wants to continue to play. And then unfortunately had to come off. So yeah, kind of reiterating the point, they're nothing serious. But Conte said, just to conclude the win, it wasn't easy, but a great win, especially when you consider our rivals losing, Wolves, United, Arsenal, West Ham. I mean, obviously, no, West Ham's still got to play, but you have to show in this moment, you have to start to feel the blood of your opponent. It's important not to fail. And I tell you, I mean, at the moment, just to summarise on this piece here, Frankie, coming back round to you. I know you've always been a fan of Antonio Conte, but has it surprised you, Frankie, just when we were in that early stages, he just wasn't getting that oomph out the team, how much it's just transformed over the last 3 to 4 weeks? Has it not surprised you, Frankie, we've come into our own now?
Not really, because he's a world-class manager. And where we were, if you remember, all our rivals were singing Tottenham get battered everywhere we go. We were getting beat 3-0 by 3-1 by Arsenal, 3-0 by Palace, 3-0 at home to Manchester United. So the confidence was shattered within that squad. They had no confidence, and we were on a downward trajectory. So I'm not really surprised. But obviously, he needed a couple of his own players in, who technically made the team better as well, by the way. We haven't mentioned that, but both are technically brilliant. And I wouldn't underestimate as well. And you don't want to be critical of players like Dele Alli, who have actually contributed to the club over the years. But getting rid of the three, I know Brian Hill's on loan, but getting rid of those as well, and Levy taking the financial hits on those players, particularly giving away Dele Alli, has done wonders for Conte, because obviously he wanted to get his dressing room and he wanted the ambience almost and the atmosphere and everything within that dressing room to be as he needed it to be. So, to answer your question, I'm not surprised, but obviously we had to give him some further tools, some extra tools in January to enable him to further his work. And without those two signings, we wouldn't be as good as we are. That's just a fact, because Kulusevski's numbers are ridiculous. And Bentancur's the best centre midfielder that we've had since Moussa Dembele. He is. Yeah. So obviously, if we can continue to back this manager, nothing will surprise me of Antonio Conte. He came to England, he won the Premier League, he won the FA Cup. He's won the Serie A with two different teams, doing it with Inter as well after years of dominance from Juventus. He's proven and tested and tried as a world-class manager who is in his peak. He won he won Serie A last season. This isn't a manager that hasn't won anything for 3 or 4 years, and his stock has slightly fallen, and we've got him in to try and rebuild his reputation. We've got a manager at the height of his powers who's one of the best in the world. So nothing surprises me with Antonio Conte, because we all know he's one of the best in the business.
Yeah. Oh, man. I totally agree. Right. What we will do for our listeners on audio, we're going to... It's funny. We've got Jake coming back on another device here, so we're going to remove Jake from this
trouble, isn't he? He is trouble, that boy.
They
oh,
said
my God. Now I'm feeling ill. Oh, my goodness.
They said he was a comedian. They didn't lie about stand-up, did they? This is fantastic.
This is all part of a sketch. It's a comedy sketch that he's implementing into the show, obviously.
I hope he didn't do any gigs on Zoom during lockdown, for crying out loud. I really do.
You watch him sell out Royal Albert Hall next week, I tell you. You watch it from this, I tell you. Watch him sell that out. But we will go for that first break of the show for our listeners on audio. Take you into that break. You are going to hear from a very, very happy Antonio Conte reflecting on a massive win for Tottenham Hotspur up at Villa Park. Now, this is especially for Jake, and many of you will already know this, that we are absolutely delighted on the last word on Spurs to be sponsored by NordVPN. Yes, Jake, this is for you, NordVPN. Nord is a secure, fast, incredibly easy to use network Jake, keep an eye on this. It's the Harry Kane of NordVPNs, incredible in all its facets, with a device protection of Christian Romero and the internet speed of Heung-min Son. You have a great opportunity to save on the likes of YouTube Premium this app if you simply switch your location services. Also, if you're going through the airport and you just want to avoid all those dodgy signals, NordVPN is where you want to go. Now, we are currently running a special discount where at the moment, you can get 1 month free and a huge discount and a bonus gift by using the code LWOS. Now, Lord have launched a brand new feature called Threat Protection, which is an anti-malware software which users will be able to get for free with that code LWOS. So make sure you check that out. Again, go to nordvpn.com/LWOS to check out that code. And I'm pleased to say Jake is now joining us on his mobile. So we're going to bring Jake back in. We've got Jake on twice here, amazingly. Jake, let's see first. Can you hear us, Jake?
Yeah, but through here, I can't get my AirPods to connect. I'm having an absolute shocker.
Right, what we're going to let Jake do, as this is all part of the comedy show, as you know, we're going to let Jake carry on and hopefully get those earbuds connected in some form of way. And we're going to steer the show around back to Frankie Major. Frankie, ahead of the game, listen, Spurs once again were unchanged. So that Spurs team read Lloris, Romero, Dyer, Davis, Emerson, Højbjerg, Bentancur, Doherty, Kulusevski, Kane and Son, with a bench of Galini, Roden, Sanchez, Reguilon, Sessegnon, White, Winks, Lucas, Bergwijn. We must add that Sessegnon and Reguilon returned to that squad after their respective hamstring and knee injuries. But yeah, thoughts on the overall team, Frank? Is there any surprises now with Tottenham?
I was actually surprised that he didn't include Reguilon in the starting lineup. But as a friend of mine, Weathers, reminded me, what manager changes it after a 5-1 win against a Newcastle side that have actually been in good form? So I do understand that. But we are getting more consistency and continuity from these players because they understand now, because the starting 11 pretty much picks itself, barring, again, today, he's picked Emerson over Reguilon or Sessegnon. So, no, I wasn't surprised to see that lineup, barring the left wing-back position. It's obviously helping us massively that we haven't got a massive congestion of fixtures because we're out of all of the cups. So for next season, we will need more of a squad. If we're going to try and win trophies and obviously compete in all competitions, we are going to need additions, and the team might change them. But at the moment, for me, the team picks itself. The front three pick itself. Højbjerg and Bentancur, a brilliant tandem. They've been playing brilliantly. And the back three is a settled back three with the keeper behind them. So it helps. The back three in particular, I think Ben Davies and Eric Dyer have had a lot of criticism over the last few years. And you can say what you want about Ben Davies. I mean, I've said before that I'd like another left centre-back, a taller one. I still think we lack a bit of height in that back three. But he's been brilliant. He has. He's done well. And Eric Dyer's been brilliant. I think it's embarrassing that Gareth Southgate picked Tyrone Mings over Eric Dyer, particularly if you look at today's performance. And that helps when you've got that stable platform of a goalkeeper and a back three or a back four that all know each other and get that consistency from playing with each other every week, and the wing backs, of course. But it gives you that stable base, that platform to play from. And it's no surprise that we're getting these results and scoring all of these goals. In the fact that the team has been more consistent than it has been all season, the starting 11. So no surprises. As I said, maybe Reguilon, I know he's just come back, but I did expect to see at least 10 of those 11 starting today that started.
Let's try and go back to our stand-up comedian, who this is apparently not part of the sketch tonight. Let's try and get back in with Jake Lambert. Jake, can you hear us? Are we all good?
How's this working? Is this good?
That's good, isn't
That's
it?
better.
Yeah, that's nice.
I'll tell you, that's better. That's better.
Yeah.
This is, we can hear you. We can see you.
7 times a charm.
I'll tell you, we try. Jake, listen, let's talk about Spurs' first goal to open the game. Just for the sake of that Wi-Fi connection, we can't lose you. We can't try and do this. We took it in less than 3 minutes. Dyer clipping a lovely ball forward. It was headed out. Kane's shot was blocked. It fell to Son, who volleyed it first time. And, in off the post, Jake, I think all of us thought, what an incredible start. We didn't probably maybe think that was possible because of the nature of just, Spurs maybe in the past starting games slowly, but God, really fast start from Tottenham.
Yeah, it was brilliant, especially considering how the other... how's this?
You're brilliant. You're all good, Jake. Keep talking. You're doing fantastic. I feel like I'm doing Paul's job now.
I felt, can we all talk to Jake and then just stop like that for a second just to throw him off for...
We all just freeze.
What would be awful is if I just pretended to freeze. I didn't want to answer. Then my cat just walks in perfect normal time.
Yeah, and then you keep
I
talking like this.
But I personally just breathed a sigh of relief because I thought after the results going our way all day, I just assumed that we were going to be, 89th minute or something, still begging for that goal to come. So unfortunately, it wasn't brilliant after. But it's a perfect start. If we can keep doing that every game, then it'll make that the next. How many games is it left now? 8?
7.
7 to go. Seven FA Cup fifth round ties to come. We can't say cup finals in here because we know what happens with cup finals. So we have to call them FA Cup fifth rounds.
Some finish as well, Jake. With
So,
the effort, wasn't it? Son, fantastic finish, wasn't it, Jake?
It must have been exactly where I wanted to go. For it to go that side of the post and it was perfect down the corner. He's obviously taken tips off Kane with his penalties. It was phenomenal. But it's just a brilliant way of sort of perseverance from the team. It looked like no matter what, they'd been told you have to go and score in the first 5 minutes because they were all just sort of just flinging themselves at the ball, trying to get anything out of it. There was a couple of times today when Højbjerg took a couple of shots when Kane was right in front of him, which confused me a little bit. I'm hoping he'll get a bit of a talking to about that. I think he's getting a bit too confident. But
I'll tell you what,
fair play to Son, and can't fault it.
The way Højbjerg ended the game, if anyone saw his knees on Instagram, it looked like he had been through the wars. We will touch upon Højbjerg shortly. But Coyte, coming back round to you,
they were tattoos, by the way, Ricky. They weren't on his knees. That's what they were. If you thought that was like red marks or dirt or anything, that was his new tats on his knees. So just so you realise that.
Listen, Coyte, I'm glad for that insider. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. It really dug me out of one now. Son's stats, Paul. These are incredible. 34 goals with his left foot in the Premier League. The only right-footed player with more left-footed goals in the competition being Harry Kane. He's now been directly involved in 18 goals in the last 17 Premier League games. Scored more goals than Torres, Hazard. Just unbelievable. The stats roll on. 17, as Frankie said, 17 non-penalty goals from Son. And, what do you think of Sonny? Is he world class for you, Paul? Is he world class?
He's absolutely world class. He's never not been world class. Anybody that says he's not world, for crying out loud, look at the guy.
Yeah, what else? He's not world class.
Who is it?
I've said it, Coyte. I've said it.
What are you thinking?
What
are you thinking? For crying out loud, what do you give? I felt like seeing from the Brady Bunch. There's one for the kids, but when did you think he wasn't world class? Then, are you changed?
Sometimes he does have these dipping forms.
So does everybody. Every world class player does.
But there was a period. Unfortunately, his form can be quite patchy. I know, obviously, he's in a very good place at the moment with momentum, but. His all-round approach play hasn't been great at times this season, and he's had games where he's looked miles off it. But I suppose you look at his numbers, retrospectively, you look back over the last 4 to 5 years, and in the hardest league in the world, those are world-class numbers that he's putting up. They are. Particularly from somebody who doesn't always play through the middle. So there was a point earlier in the season where I did turn around, and I've said on this show as well that I don't think he's world-class. I think he's just that bracket below. But I think now, particularly this season, he'll get over 20 Premier League goals without doubt. You probably can't deny it now.
Frankie.
Go on, Coyte.
No, I was just saying, I think so. And it's also a difficult thing to define, isn't it? I've done this on the radio as well. How do you actually define world class? What does that mean? Does it mean someone that's going to just walk into any world side? Is it someone that can go to any club at all and play? I don't know. But I do agree with you because I think there was a time when only recently where I was worried about Sonny and I just thought the form was slightly off and he was thinking a bit too much. I think we mentioned on the show the last time I think I was on here, wasn't it, Rick, was the Man City game when we won that. And as great as it was, I remember Sonny passing the ball where normally he would have shot. And it just made me think for a moment, although we ended up with a goal because that was when Kulusevski scored. And I just thought for a minute, that worried me, although we ended up with a goal, because normally he would have taken it on. And he's that someone that's thinking twice about it and thinking, maybe I'm going to miss. But now, look at the goals that he scored today. You just go for, and I had complete confidence that they were going to go in the back of the net. And he looked like he had the same. So when his tail's up and when things are going right, and he's the sort of guy he is. And I've known him a long time. I haven't seen him for a while, obviously, but I'll see him again. And he's just hasn't changed. He's just the loveliest fella. Yeah. He's just so full of joy and full of the joy of life. And that's the way he plays his football. And honestly, I can't say enough about him because I think he's just a fantastic footballer, totally world class. And any dip in form, you know, it ain't permanent. You know, its class is permanent, as we know. And he's a great player. Have I said enough that I love him? Does that show? But he is
can
real.
I just ask a question to all three of you? Yeah. Do you think he can get the Golden Boot this season? He's 3 behind.
Oh, absolutely, I do. I love that if he did it. And I believe that Harry would help him do it. I really do, because I think the bond is so close between the two of them. Although Harry would want to win it, I think if it looked like we're going, you know, it's moving up and he's very close, and I think, trust me, Harry would help him to do that. And I think he can absolutely win the Golden Boot. Absolutely, no question.
I'm not going to be
take the penalties.
Wow. I'm not going to be a hypocrite because I did say on the last show that he wasn't world class. So Coyte, feel free to have an absolute go
not
at me
you
now.
As well, for crying out loud.
You know what? I just think for me, you know,
you're so fickle, you lot.
If Son maintains the level that he's showing, you know, now to the end of the season, it's going to be very hard to argue that. I just think I agree with Frankie that in that early part of the season where, you know, you'd have a run of games where you kind of get 5 or 6 goals, then there'd be a blip. Listen, I think everyone, just because I don't think he was world class doesn't mean I want Son to leave the football club, just to be clear. He's an unbelievable player. We're very lucky to have him. You know, he's humble down to the ground. I know you've met him, Paul, on so many occasions. I know the guy loves the club, loves Spurs, loves the fans. All I want to see Sonny do is, like he's showing now, if he can show this consistent nature, win the Golden Boot, I don't think me and Frank are going to have much of an argument. I mean, Jake, listen, I know you love Son as well. I mean, the stats he's put up at the moment, Jake, are quite phenomenal, aren't they, Sonny?
Yeah, what is he? Is he now 17 goals?
17, non-penalty goals. Yeah, 17 non-penalty goals. Yeah, 6 assists. Yeah,
and last year was 17 goals, 10 assists by the end. So he's just, I mean, that's the consistency we wanted, isn't it? That's it. And I think that's the difference with world class, isn't it? If he does that 3 seasons in a row, you can't deny it. Yeah. I think he's phenomenal. I was slightly surprised, but I think I did say this before. I might have tweeted it and a few people didn't like it. If I was Bergwijn, I'd probably be a bit frustrated that Son did have quite a dip and yet just seemed to still not get a sniff. I think we're considering Bergwijn would come on every time and deliver, but it shows amazing belief. Obviously, I'm wrong. Conte's right and correct to keep him going because he's had a little dip and he's come back, I'd say, even better. And now he's sort of like delivering every game. I think it must have turned around at the City game was the big one, wasn't it? Where you were saying before, Paul, when he turned it and passed it to Kulu, which even now when I've watched that goal, I still can't believe Kulu got it. I think I was just expecting him, just because of the way he looks, he looks a bit like watching Peter Crouch. I thought he was going to go anywhere, but it was so well taken with the pressure and everything. For me, Son's absolutely phenomenal. He's a sort of player that I can't believe teams don't come sniffing for him and coming in for him every season. I hate to say it, but I feel like with a team like Liverpool.
Sorry, Jay, are you talking about the big teams? Are you talking about the big teams, the Real Madrids, the Barças, the big European teams? Are you surprised that they've not come in for him at any point?
Yeah. Are you not? Or...
I'm totally surprised. I haven't heard definitive transfer link over the last 3 or 4 seasons to any of the bigger European clubs, and it is quite surprising.
I mean, hopefully he's just happy. Hopefully he's just happy here and he's settled. Go, Jake.
I'll tell you what's interesting, and I remember reading about this, and it was not about Son, it was about something else, and it was about South Koreans and their culture, and how it was around the time that Kane was having his trouble over the summer, but it wasn't about football, and they were saying how their culture isn't to sort of take the easy route, it's to sort of work for what they achieve and what they get in life. And I remember thinking, maybe that's just what it is with Son. The idea of him going to a big club doesn't interest him. He's not about going somewhere to win. It's about if I win trophies and if I prove myself, it's because I've earned it and I've worked hard at it. I think it's actually a lot to do with his culture. That's on his part. Still no idea why the big clubs haven't come in for him, because I can't think of a single team he wouldn't improve.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I just think with Son generally that, and I say a lot of these players, to win with Tottenham, I think would be more incredibly special than winning it elsewhere because of the nature of Spurs is, history in the last 20 years with trophies have been so few and far between that I think it would be extra special to win at Tottenham the way they've tried to do it to some extent organically. But listen,
I hope
you've got
so,
Conte
yeah.
in there now. We've had Mourinho, we've had Pochettino. Nuno feels like that was 4 seasons ago. I'm not going to lie, even though, Jack, we reverted back to that with your Wi-Fi earlier. When I think back in where Spurs are now, Conte feels like he's been here for the full season, the way that Spurs are transforming under him. But
No, you're right.
we must mention Hugo Lloris because in that first half alone, saved to deny Ramsey. There was McGinn's rocket. There was Cash's volley. I mean, he made 7 saves in that opening 45 minutes, the most by any Tottenham goalkeeper in the first half of a Premier League game. And then second half, he turned a creator with a pre-assist, with a lovely long accurate free kick for Kane to head on for Kulusevski to score. But apart from that, it didn't have much to do in the second half.
And he nearly gave a goal away. Can we? Sorry,
yeah,
Hugo,
Leon Bailly.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, overall, Lloris, where do you stand on Lloris?
I think he's a great keeper. You know who I listen to, and I'm not going to name drop, but Pat Jennings, who I speak to quite a lot, and Pat still goes into the club, and if whoever Pat says is great, then I'm with 100%. And he loves Hugo. And he was asked, and I don't think I'm going to betray any confidences. I think it was, who was it? There was someone that spoke to him, I think, within coaching, that said to him, right, what do you think about goalkeeping? And what do you think about Hugo? So this is early on. And he just said, I think he's fantastic. I think he's a fantastic goalkeeper. You should have signed him up. He should be signed up. He should have a new contract straight away because he's a fantastic keeper. So if it's good enough for Pat, it's absolutely good enough for me. There's still times that I worry, but then again, I don't think there's any goalkeeper in the world that he's not going to have every now and again a little bit, well, oh dear, maybe he should have held on to that, or maybe he palmed that away in the wrong direction. It's always going to happen because any goalkeeper, whatever you do, it's the old thing about, it's an old cliche. It's about outfield players. Yeah. Worse, if you're a striker, you laugh. And if the further back it goes, if you make a mistake and then a goal goes in, then it's all down to you. And of course, being the last line of defence, if he makes a ricket or anything, he drops anything or palms it out to another player and it goes in, he gets the blame for it. So, every goalkeeper has that. But I think he's a fantastic keeper. And even so, I think we've got to keep him. We absolutely have to keep him. Do we bring someone else in? So, and then I don't know whether Galini is the answer, but someone else that comes in as that understudy, just almost like Hugo did when it was Brad Friedel, and Brad was in goal and playing really well, and then Hugo was brought in, and then eventually there was a change of the guard. So for later on, I don't know, but at the moment, I'm very happy with him. I thought he had a great game today.
I think it's Sam Johnston.
Yeah,
I think that's, from what I'm hearing,
that's the word, isn't it?
That's going to happen. Yeah, that's going to happen this summer.
Do you think, Frankie, just coming over to you on that point, you mentioned Sam Johnston there, is that enough still to drive Hugo? Obviously, he just signed a new contract. Would you be happy if those are the 2 goalkeepers that are vying it out for next season?
Well, if Hugo's the number 1, he's not a bad backup, is he, Sam Johnston? He had a good season in the Premier League. I haven't actually seen too much of him this season, but I just think with Hugo, I think the question mark, and I've done so many shows and spoken about this so many times, it's always just been over his kicking. And in modern football, your goalkeeper needs to be able to distribute with his feet. And I just think that's his main weakness. And we've said before, if he was brilliant with his feet, he probably wouldn't have stayed at Tottenham for 10 years, would he? So, we can't be too displeased with Hugo, but eventually, over the next couple of seasons, we are going to have to find a proper number 1 keeper. And with the way that, again, if Conte is in charge for that long, it will be a goalkeeper whose distribution with his feet is at the high level, because it just, as I say, the way football is now, if you're playing out from the back, the keeper's got to be able to play football. So we'll be looking. I'm not sure if Sam Johnston's going to be our number 1 for the next 5 or 6 years. Honestly, I might be wrong. I don't think he's good enough. So, but as a backup and an understudy to Hugo for the next couple of years, if we're going to keep Hugo as the number 1, then I'm not against that at all. I think it's a shrewd bit of business on the free transfer as a number 2 goalkeeper.
Yeah. Jake, let's come over to you. Do you have a view on Lloris there quickly? I can see you want to jump in.
Yeah, I mean, Lloris, as we all know, is a phenomenal goalkeeper. And I remember before there was a time, I think last season, talk of him, will he stay on? Then we gave him the new contract. But has anybody seen anything from him physically that suggests he's coming anywhere close to needing to stop playing so much? He's just as sort of athletic and sort of moves as quickly as he ever did, I think. And I think he's only improving. And with goalkeepers getting to play a bit longer, I just feel like yeah, it'd be good to have understudies, but I think we could probably get a younger understudy than Sam Johnston to sort of learn under him, because I don't see him going anywhere still for another couple of seasons, personally.
It's interesting, Jake, because I just think I agree with Frankie that maybe long term, if Spurs want to adapt and maybe change their way of playing slightly, if Lloris will be that goalkeeper. But I think we can all see just how much Conte values
Right.
Lloris as a leader. I mean, that's what comes across to me. You know, he was in there only a
Yeah.
couple of months and said, look, was really pushing for Lloris to get that new deal, purely because I think, you know, he sees Lloris as being a real important key character in that dressing room. So I think on that basis alone, you want to keep good characters around the camp. You know, he's a World Cup winner. He's won trophies. You hope that's going to rub off on the rest of the squad, because, you know, that's ultimately what Spurs do need in that squad.
Which is something else that Bentancur and Kulusevski, despite their age, bring to the club that we've been missing for, I think, a long, long time. I remember watching us in the Champions League, and I just thought, we've not got players that have really been here much before, have sort of done the job. And I remember when we were in the title race as well, I remember thinking, the thing is, you know, when we are playing teams like Chelsea, and we all know the sort of Battle of the Bridge, they had so many players who had sort of been involved in big games and had performed and had the experience of what it's like to walk out, you know, in Champions League finals and stuff like this. I just felt like we always sort of lacked that. And I think that's something that that he brings, obviously, from winning the World Cup, but that Bentancur and Kulusevski have, despite their age. Because I've always just felt sometimes you'll see a team like City will do it. They'll bring in experience, even though they're a bit older, but I guess they can afford to not do the sell-on, which we know Levy likes. But it's very important, I think, when you've got players like Kane. We all know, I don't want to say anything bad, but we all know that Kane, you know, has been in a couple of finals and hasn't really delivered. And it's probably he would have really benefited from having experience and somebody to be able to put his arm around him and say, this is how we handle it. This is what we do. Which I think Lloris obviously brings, but I think we just needed a bit more outfield players that have been there and done it, and we've lacked that a lot.
Yeah, that's an absolute fair point. And we must just kind of conclude that first half. Conte was absolutely furious with some of the change that was going on Kulusevski and then Reguilon. I mean, there was really plenty of tackles that were flying about in that first half. Some really nasty and naughty ones, to be fair, from Villa. They were very lucky to get away with some of them that we saw, because they were really, really bad. But I think what we're all thinking is going into half-time is, can Spurs come out in that second half and really show some character? Because to be fair, towards the end of that first half, Villa was starting to dominate, and there was that concern, you know, Spurs are going to have to show up in that second half, and that's exactly what they did. Paul, come back over to you, because scoring early is key in any second half, and Spurs did that. It was actually Route 1 stuff. Lloris booting the ball upfield, Kane flicking it on, Kulusevski running onto it, and then firing it low through Mings' legs into the far corner. Paul, I know you already, Kulusevski, I know you've already been a massive fan of him, but just, you know, he's adapted to this league so quickly, Paul. I think I said this to you when you were last on with us. Just quite unbelievably, isn't it, how well he's adapted? He's only been here for, 4 months so far, Kulusevski.
Yeah, and when we were watching the game, I was watching the game with my son, and I was saying, he's only 21. I mean, this is incredible, isn't it? And he just looks so good and so calm and just fits in, you know, whereas it's just another piece of that jigsaw that we know that's gone into that Spurs jigsaw and that now fits. So that's great. So that's dealt with. And I think he's got a lot of years with us, and I think he's just going to go to strength to strength. I think he just looks fantastic. And also at the end of, you know, we obviously couldn't get to the end of the first half quick enough. And it was so important, because when that goal goes in, then that's when their heads start to drop. They didn't have that intensity, did they? From that goal, there was a few loose challenges, but there wasn't that intensity, because Villa were really at us. Every time we had the ball, they just didn't give us a second. And you could see what Gerrard had told them to do and how they told them to play. But when the second goal went in, I just think it just all got it just got loose, and we had so much more space. So when we've got space to play, then we're out on our own. And the only worry is that when we are hassled and when we're harried by other teams, that's when we, you know, and we came through it, and that is a huge bonus for us. Because, I mean, let's face it, I don't imagine Brighton are going to be wanting to play football against us. They know what they've got to do as well to play against us. Is they're going to go out, you know, they're going to block again, they're going to chase, they're going to go after everybody. So if we can start playing and get through those games, which we've always suffered with, even under Poch, when we had games like this, and it was like, you know, we just can't seem to break them down. Yeah. That's going to be key for us. And if we start winning those games, then we are going to go on to another level, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, many comments here saying that, the nature of that second goal and the timing of it, Frank, really did kind of kill Villa's stride straight after half time. But what's interesting about Kulusevski, that I love, Frankie, that didn't actually have the most greatest first half, was very quiet, and then second half just kind of exploded into the game. I mean, isn't it quite nice to have a player that can influence a game and actually not be at his best in the first half?
Well, of course, and at 21 years old, his mentality is in the right place because he, through games when things aren't going well for him or are going against him, he still plies and chips away and keeps trying to do the right things. And it was a fantastic finish, brilliant finish, great goal. And going back to just quickly what you said about the treatment from Villa, obviously it's a physical game. I understand that. I understand that physical contact is part of football, but some of those decisions, I mean, did you remember the late one from Luca Dean on Romero where the ball was completely gone? And he just went through him.
Senseless. It was
senseless. He didn't pull him back. I mean, even the Ashley Young one was cynical. And I may sound a bit extreme here, but that could have been a red card.
Yeah, I agree.
It's high, it's late, it's dangerous, it's on purpose. And that could have been a red card as well.
There was intent, wasn't there, Frankie? There was intent.
And then what did he actually book Højbjerg for? What did he book him for? Absolutely nothing. It was a terrible performance, but... forgetting that, Kulusevski, going back to him, 21 years old, gimme a ginger from Sweden. And the funny thing is Ricky, you are the spitting image, or you're a lookalike of Bentancur. And my brother, who's actually we had a family event today, he's with me. He is the spitting image of Kulusevski, and I'll put a photo of him in the group chat because
hold on, and I'm the spitting image of Romero. What's the chances?
Well, there you go.
Isn't that hilarious?
Wow. I just keep calling him Louis, who's my brother. It's just uncanny. They're so similar, but he is. I'm not exaggerating. I know we can all get carried away, but analysing his performances, the game isn't all about numbers. I understand that. You've got to look at how a player influences the game. But name me another player. I know there's talent like Saka and Phil Foden. We've got some fantastic youngsters in this league, but he's right up there with them.
Yeah.
I mean, the numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
He's got two great feet. Intelligent, strong, physical. As I say, his football IQ for a 21-year-old, the way that he thinks out of a situation, the way he gets us up the pitch, he looks after the ball so much better than Lucas has or does. And he's got all the attributes to be a fantastic player in the Premier League. And at 21 years old, you look at him and how he's playing at the moment. Imagine him in 4 or 5 years' time with the right coach in the right side. You've got some player there. He's a fantastic prospect. Already a fantastic player.
Yeah. Also, Frankie,
that ball he chipped in though, because he went backwards and forwards, and this is when you're thinking a lot of players would have just got to the line and just put it in. But he thought again, turned back, and it was almost like a little chip that came in from what we. And I mean, and that's someone with confidence, and that's someone that has total confidence in what they can do. And it wasn't like a show pony thing. It was just right now. This is the best way to do it, and it worked out. No, I think he's great.
He's tricky, and that assist, that cross for Sonny's goal against Newcastle with his right foot. This is a left-footed footballer. Was on the money. So he's hard to read because he can go outside, he can go inside. It's a little bit like Chris Waddle in some ways, where he's not the quickest, but he looks quicker than he is, if that makes sense. And he can go in and out, and he's got. I'm not saying he's a lot like him, but there's glimpses of him there, and that's hard to read as a fullback or a defender. When you've got a player who's comfortable on both feet and he can go either way, that is a nightmare for defenders.
Yeah, agree. And Frankie, let Louis know if he's up for it. Me and him will definitely go out on the town there and see what we can get in terms of money-wise.
Take you out and do some autograph signings.
As a duo. Let us know if he's up for it. Jakey, come around to you. Listen, as I said about Kulusevski, his stats are quite remarkable. 10 games, 3 goals, 6 assists. That's the Premier League alone. Has it surprised you, Jake, just how quickly he's hit the ground running over here?
I think, yeah. I liked him, and I was glad we got him. But it's even surprised me just how quickly he's adapted. And it's a good reminder as well to us fans during the transfer windows that it doesn't have to be these huge signings and these marquee signings. If you look at United, you can see exactly where they went wrong. It's almost like Paradis does a bit of I don't know if you see Moneyball, where it's just knowing what's actually needed here. And Conte builds a team so well that we now know we can look at that team and go, actually, 2 wing backs and Ben Davies doing a job that a left centre back, help out there. That's exactly what this team needs, and you can see what it needs. And it's, look at United, and they've just got a mess because they've just got a load of shirt sellers, but it doesn't actually work as a team. And Kulusevski, I just think it's phenomenal. I'm surprised how quickly it's worked for him, especially as well. I think it's as well with the fact he doesn't look it and he's not English. The media almost sort of don't care, because if he was English or if he looked 21, he would be this new sensation. Yeah. But he just looks about 40, and he's just sort of doing a job. And I imagine he's a sort of player that I imagine at 40 could still be doing the same job. He just looks like nothing seems to affect him.
Yeah. No, he's remarkable.
Just quickly, Jake, I mean, you are totally right. If he was English, can you imagine the media hysteria if this was a young English player? Their headline.
Yeah. Remarkable.
Exactly that. Exactly. Yeah. And they're going to get him over the line, right? I feel like this. Obviously, we bought Benton, he's on loan, but all the talk seems to be as soon as we can, we're getting that done day one.
Yeah. It appears they'll trigger that. It appears they will trigger that option in the summer. 25 million is believed to be the obligation fee. So fingers crossed Spurs will do that. But listen, got to talk about Spurs racing into a 3-0 lead. It was again a lovely flick on header from Kane. We saw Romero's lovely diagonal ball. Son running through, clinically burying his shot. And do you know what I love, Paul, at the moment with regards to Sonny is with that goal there, when he's full in confidence, never going to miss, was he? Never going to miss.
No, he wasn't ever going to miss. And you see him go through, and it was everything about that goal was perfect. The ball came over, the Kane flick, and also Sonny, let's not forget, he had to time that run absolutely perfectly, and bang, he was away, and there was absolutely no chance he wasn't going to the back of the net. So no, it was just a beautiful goal, and this is the stuff that we're seeing at the moment. So I'm loving it, mate. I tell you, I'm really enjoying watching my team at the moment.
Isn't it amazing? You know, when you have a game like that, it's a pleasure to come and talk about, because always you do. And listen, no one's at fault for this. When they think, Saturday night, reviewing Tottenham, you just want to win. You just want to win because a defeat, it's just gut-wrenching. So when you play like that and you win like that and you score the goals we're scoring and the way the team is performing, it does make you very proud to be a Spurs fan.
Absolutely. And also the fact that, of course, we've mentioned it a couple of times, but the fact it was so important that we'd done it and we'd seen us blow it 100 times before, that we actually went out. When people think, oh, God, away of Aston Villa, what's going to happen? And we turn them over 3-0 for crying out loud. It's all very well if anybody goes, oh, yeah, well, it shouldn't have been that result. You didn't. Yes, we did deserve to win with that 3-0. You say what you like about the first half, but when you score 3 goals, and however, 3, 4, it doesn't matter. It's 4. It was 4. It really doesn't matter. We've gone out and we destroyed them. Actually, I did a half-time once at Wembley. I think it was the Juventus game when we were 1-up, and I did the whole thing, and I didn't know. I thought it was 0-0 at the time. It was only afterwards I was told. So it's probably the age thing. But anyway, 4. Is it 5? Was it 6?
But I can't remember.
Never changed, Coyte. Never changed. That's why we love you. Never changed.
I mean, I can't remember. Coyte, you've been with the club a while. I can't remember us in recent memory blowing teams away like this every week.
No.
Putting 5 past Newcastle, battering Everton, Leeds. I know they're not great sides. Villa today 4-0.
Amount of goals.
When do we do that? We're just scoring goals for fun. It's a joke.
Yeah, and the goal difference as well. I must add this goal difference for Spurs. I do just want to double check this. I thought I was seeing double earlier, and that wasn't because Jake was on here twice when we were trying to bring him back on. But looking at the table, Spurs' goal difference right now, plus 19. Frankie, plus 19 goal difference. And again, I don't want to bring Arsenal into it too much. They're on 9 now. Spurs are 10 goals plus in front of them.
It's massive. It's an extra point.
It's an extra point.
It is, because if you finish on the same points, then you obviously win on goal difference. You finish higher. So anyone that dismisses that is an idiot, because it's a fact that is an extra point at the end of the day. And it's encouraging that swing has been huge in the last month or two. Huge.
It's only a week. It's actually a week, though, isn't it?
It's crazy.
Was it before the Leeds game? We were negative. I think we were -1.
Yeah. We were -1.
Like 8 games.
Yeah.
We're plus 19. It's incredible.
It's actually frightening. It really is. And for the hat trick, Jake, coming over to you, Spurs just absolutely ripping Villa apart. And it all started again with some lovely fine feet from our ginger friend Kulusevski beside his own box. He then sent Son away. He found Kulusevski again. He then teed up Son to put it into the left-hand post. And listen, 4-0, that was a real team move from Spurs. And I think it really summed up what was a great performance, great result.
Something clicked, because I think we'll all agree we are much better when teams are coming at us, because then we get to go at them as well. It's how we're a lot stronger. And if teams sit back, I think it's when we do struggle to break them down. Always have done, even when we had Eriksen, that was the problem we had. So I think, I don't know about you, but I was certainly confused in the first half, wondering how we were suddenly pinned back, and no matter what we did, it didn't work. So whatever they fixed, whatever they did, it'd be interesting to watch it again and properly analyse the difference in the second half. But whatever we did to completely dominate, it was incredible. It was a completely, really was a game of two halves. But it was something else. They were just undone, and it seems like when we are playing like that, we can't be matched, which is something they've got to remember, because I feel like the fans will do this often. We'll be playing a team, say if you look at the teams we've got coming up, and we'll go, oh, we do have this team which we should beat, but they're in a relegation battle, so that'll be a tough one. Or they're in a title battle, so it'll be a tough one. But teams will be looking at us and going, well, this is Tottenham, and they're in a top 4 battle, so we don't really want to be playing them, considering we're in a title race or we're in a relegation battle. Rather than it always being the other team and us trying to adapt and say, well, it would like, I think Norwich is at the last game of the season, and what's going to happen? It's actually, it doesn't matter if they want to go down swinging. We want to go out on a high and get 4. So if we play the way we play, I don't think there's many teams out there, which we've even proven against City, that can go up against us. When we're,
I think
there
probably
on our
Arsenal.
day.
Arsenal are probably going to put more people out on loan and have more illness by the time we get to May, don't you think? Now they're probably going to wish they played that game before now.
Isn't it funny though, isn't it?
I think as well that's incredible, but it's almost a bit of a lose-lose game for them, that one, the derby, because if they lose, obviously they lose, but if they win, then we all know it's because you were too scared to play us before, so you had to make excuses. I mean, the game's already, we're sort of, I think for the neutral, they're going to be rooting for us because what Arsenal did was so unacceptable. I feel like
agree.
Everyone's sort of
neutrals don't root for us, Jake. You should know that by now, mate. Neutrals don't root for us.
They don't root for them, though, do
actually,
they?
I was thinking this, Frank. I was thinking whether it will change the next few weeks. It'd be interesting to see how Sky treat us, because now, thanks to us, Sky have got a title battle. Well, not thanks to us. They've got a title battle. They've got a relegation battle, and thanks to us, they've got an incredible top 4 battle. I wonder now that we're there, whether they'll have to start admitting they actually quite like us and actually we're quite exciting. Be interesting to see the next few weeks.
Not with Jamie Redknapp and the likes of him on there. They can't stand us, and it will just be even more satisfying if we do get this top 4, which I think we will, and it will shove it down a few people's throats.
Agree. I must put Adrian's comment there. He says Spurs scoring the most goals in a sequential game since 1965. Just to add in, really, just the amount of goals Spurs are scoring, just quite remarkable right now.
Most goals in a sequence of games. Wow.
Yeah, unbelievable. It is an unbelievable stat there.
Just reading that on my Wi-Fi. It's 1967 here, so it's been 2 years. That's great.
At least you're honest. At least you are honest. Listen, there's been so many incredible performances within that. And I think, like Coyte said earlier, what you have to think about, and this is the worst thing now, we're getting people coming in saying top 3. Can we just cement 4th first?
Can we actually win the title mathematically? Is this possible? Just want to make sure right now. Just got to make sure.
Can.
We You've already had a look, haven't you? Just in case.
As long as we keep up our goal scoring stats, we can win it on plus 60 goals.
Yeah.
This is really champagne Spurs. It really is. Listen, incredible second half there for Spurs. You do feel the performance itself, they just went up a gear, didn't they? You saw the way, and like similar to Newcastle, they blew them away. It just shows that this Spurs team, I know the first half, many were concerned about how Spurs were going into the end of that first half, that Spurs have got that ability now to really step it up a few gears. And they're going to need that now between, obviously, here and the end of the season. And Jordan says, can Lee stay in Florida? I don't want to worry Mr. McQueen. Since he's been gone, Spurs have won 5 in a row. And I know McQueen's heading back next week. Leave him up and you just stay out there, mate, for another 8 weeks or so.
We're getting a green card, Rick. We're getting a green card.
Yeah. I thought it was me that got the credit for this. I mean, in half an hour, it's now gone to him because he's in Florida.
Paul, what can I say, mate? This show changes.
Sorry,
like
that's what you get to say for crying out loud.
Talk.
Listen, we've changed formation over here past the show. Jake's gone onto a different device. It's all kicking off. There's been so many great.
Jake's on MySpace, isn't he? There is that where I'm seeing on there? I thought so. Yeah.
Friends reunited.
I thought it was a rendition of changing rooms the way it was going. Right.
This dial up will let me.
There's been some wonderful player performances. Paul, got to kick it off with Christian Romero.
God, yeah.
He made a couple of big challenges there in that first half to stop Villa attacks, and he was pivotal for pinging that diagonal ball out to Kane to flick Son away for the goal. I think what also is crucial to say now that he has managed to avoid yet another yellow card, which means that he now can't reach 10 Premier League bookings from his 8 and a ban before they are wiped after next week's match against Brighton.
Good.
And we saw also that he punched the air in such celebration after a great late interception on his box. I mean, Paul, he loves defending, doesn't he? He just seems to love it.
Yeah, and again, that's what I love to see. You know, when you see defenders do that and goalkeepers celebrate after great saves, that's when they know they're doing their job. And it's as good. And I've spoken to players before and said, is as good as scoring a goal for a striker for when you make that great tackle or if you make a great save. And funny enough, I remember asking Hugo that, and he went, "No, not really." And I went, "Oh, okay, fair enough." But it was, but other defenders actually remember saying that. So, with that save that you made, does it feel like that? I remember, that great save that you made. Did it feel like they're scoring a goal? No, not really. That's my job. And I can't find enough. That's but okay, I'll change the question. But that's what I love to see. Again, showing a bit of passion. Show it. It's more than this, kissing the badge stuff that everybody seems to do. It's someone that's doing their job and loving doing their job. He's a Rolls Royce. It's early to say that, but he's got that Rolls Royce defender thing because he's calm and he doesn't panic and he knows where he is and spatially he's totally aware. So and he's tough as well. So no, long may him stay in this Spurs side because I think he's exactly what we need. So after we've had Jan and after. We've had Toby. I mean, now we've got a real class defender in there, so I think it's fantastic. Yeah,
Frankie, to be fair, mate, when you came on here, I think when we signed him, you said to us, we are getting a player here. I mean, when you said it, I listen, all of us, we
get a lot
excited.
Right, Rick. I get a lot right.
You do get a lot right, which is why you are loved. You are loved on here for that reason. You do get a lot right, and you say things right as well for a lot of people. Frank, does it surprise you just, how much he's immersed himself into a Spurs shirt and played ever so well, really? I mean, I can't really count. I mean, there's been times in games where he's looked a little bit rash, but overall, his quality on the ball, composure, is he up there, Frank, with some of the best we've had? I don't want to go too over the top, but obviously the likes of, in recent years, Ledley, Jan, Toby. Is he up there already for you, Frank?
He could be. He's got the potential to be. I watched him a lot in the Copa America against Brazil in the final. I've watched him quite a bit before he came to Spurs, and he was always one of the top spoken about youngsters at centre-back in Europe, European football rather, when he was at Atalanta and Juventus. And he's always had good pedigree. What I was actually surprised about is when he initially came, he was a bit too rash. And I knew that was part of his game, but to counter that, I'm now surprised at how quickly he's eradicated that from his game, because you remember 5 or so games ago, if he picked up 1 or 2 bookings, I think it was 2 before today's cut-off, he was looking at a 2-match ban or a 1-match ban. And he hasn't been booked in 3 or 4 games. And I think the biggest negative for him was the fact that he was picking up some silly bookings and he was a bit late on challenges and a little bit rash. But within the space of a few months, that seems to have all been taken out of his game. And he's emerging as just such a quality and classy football player who's aggressive at the right times now, and he's aggressive when he's defending. But on the ball, he's so calm. It's the complete opposite. And he always prefers to play his way out of a situation rather than just clip the ball out and get rid. He's confident in his ability in the ball. And he actually credited, I'm not sure if you saw, there was a piece in The Athletic, he credited Eric Dyer for helping him settle in and said that he's been a real help to him, particularly playing in the back three. And he's just class. And I do think, obviously it is early stages, but from what we've seen and from what I've known previously, this guy is going to be a world-class centre-back. He's going to the very, very top. And it is an incredible signing for Tottenham. At the time, again, this was a guy who was touted across Europe as one of the best up-and-coming centre-halves. So we got him when we had Nuno in charge. No disrespect to Nuno. Who? Nuno. Do you remember him? And we had Europa Conference League football. And that is such a coup for the fee that we paid, the fact we got him on a loan with the by obligation or compulsory buy, I think. The fact that we didn't offer Champions League, we couldn't offer him that. And to get him at the club, it's a Paratici masterclass. And this boy he's going to the very, very, very top. He's such a top quality, classy defender. He's got all the right attributes. And if I'm going to nitpick and be critical and tell you where we can improve in that back three, as I said earlier in the show, we need another tall one, and this is why the left-sided centre backs that we're
left-sided.
looking at, the 4 or 5 names, are all 6'2" plus, 6'3", 6'4", and I think that obviously that's not his strongest point, is it? He's good in aerial duels, but sometimes if the ball's a little bit behind him, he hasn't got that natural height. But everything else in his game, in my opinion, is top class, and we're lucky to have him at Spurs because he's
totally agree.
Again, he's going to the very top.
Yeah, you know what's interesting, Jake, coming over to you with Romero, that obviously in the last few weeks, the way he's been able to manage the game himself without trying to get too involved in getting into confrontations, because, he's been having to know that he's got to try and avoid this booking for quite a number of weeks. And he's miraculously somehow now got himself down to, I think, the Brighton game to be able to manage that. I mean, that in itself, Jake, just shows you an art in being able to manage that, doesn't it, from Romero?
It all seems like, I don't know if it was maybe just early on, maybe a little bit of nerves. It feels like he's already, again, I think when it's a good football, obviously it's not just physical, it's mentally and being able to understand the game. Seems like he's adapted so quickly and sort of changed his game to sort of work with the Premier League. And he sort of, today there was like a bit of finesse with his tackles where it's almost like this is such second nature to him already, that he knows how to sort of ride a tackle. He knows what to do to these players to make sure that he's not going to give away a foul. He's phenomenal. And what is he, 23?
I think
so again, still so young.
23.
Unbelievable. And I think
yeah.
It's almost like, I think, getting another centre-back alongside him, I think, would almost like a present that he sort of deserves and will only make him better. There was a little bit of that, actually. It'll be a wing-back, a right wing-back, which will help him. Because there was a couple of times I feel like we've got to appreciate Højbjerg a lot more since Bentancur has come in. Because I feel like he was sort of having to do a couple of people's jobs before he couldn't quite do his own. There was a couple of times today I felt like Romero was sort of cleaning up Emerson's mess. And I felt like if he gets a proper right wing back who knows what he's doing, he'll be able to explode even more and sort of focus on his own game. But he's that good already that he's able to do that, which is phenomenal. Somebody like Sanchez wasn't able to do. And there was a time when we had Sanchez and Emerson back there, and it was just waiting to see which one started the next calamity. He's phenomenal. He's him, Kulu, Bentancur, I just can't believe we have them. It's just how much better just 3 players have made that entire team. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is remarkable. I mean, again, we must also give a shout out to Eric Dyer. Although there were a couple of few moments a bit hairy in that first half, on the whole, dealt with it really, really well. Listen, I think Dyer's form next to Romero, there's been no doubt that since we've deployed, someone along Romero next to Dyer, that's been really impressive. And again, Ben Davies, and a player that everyone laughs at me for always saying he's 6 out of 10. I don't give him a rating above 6 out of 10. Listen, Ben, a really another good, solid battling display on that left-hand side. Yeah, I mean, there was a couple of hairy moments for him, but he mopped up what he could have done really on the whole. I mean, overall, Frankie, we've discussed, how important it is to have a solid back line. I think the word I'd quite use at the moment is just it's safe. It's safe.
Stable.
Davis
it's stability.
Safe
Stable.
Yeah, reliable. I mean, I'll be honest with you, as I said to you before, I was really unsure whether Dyer would be able to eradicate the mistakes from his game. That's exactly what he's done, isn't it, to some degree here, Frankie?
Well, I think so. And I think if you look at Eric Dyer as a person, and you go through his backstory, obviously he moved to Portugal at a young age. He's quite an intelligent guy, and I think he's got the right mentality. And I did feel that when Mourinho came in, he liked him. He took a shining to him, and Conte's done the same. So I think he's a bit of a leader in that dressing room, and he's got the right mentality. And I just think he needed to cut those mistakes out. I also think playing in the back 3 suits him much more than playing in the back 4. He's almost like, not in style of play, but he's almost like David Luiz in the sense that in a back 2, in a back 4, playing with one other centre back, probably his weaknesses are a little more exposed, but playing in a back 3 suits him, where he's the spare peg, so to speak. He drops off, doesn't he? Also, what you can't deny about Eric Dyer, he's our best centre back in the air. He wins so many headers. I'd love to see the statistics of how many headers he defends from balls coming into our box, because he just seems to win every single header. And I just think the back 3 suits him. It brings out the best of his attributes. And Conte did actually say when he came in that he felt that he could be one of the best in the world in that role, in the back 3. which many people probably frowned at the time. But I'm not saying he's been one of the best in the world, but he's been brilliant. He's been consistent. He's upped his level, as they all have, and long may it continue.
Amen. No, I totally agree. I mean, even dare I say, Emerson Royale, he looked a bit shaky at first. There's a couple of misplays, overhit passes, but again, he really did grow as that game went on. And fingers crossed, we do give him that time to improve. I know many have already made their judgment on Emerson Royale, but you can't forget, young player just come over from another country, just needs some time to adapt potentially. As we discussed Matt Doherty earlier, we got an update from Antonio Conte, who said, there'll be further analysis on him tomorrow. And what we do know was that he was gingerly walking out of Villa Park with a brace on his right knee. So that in itself obviously is slightly concerning, but we obviously shall wait to see. Sergio Reguilon obviously came into his place 20 minutes in, had a shot that deflected into the goalkeeper. I think the only thing with Reguilon, Paul, coming over to you, is whether he's going to basically offer us that end product. Because again, I know Reguilon has kind of split opinion so far, and I know there's many out there that maybe feel Sessegnon is a better option. Where do you sit, Paul, in that battle on the left-hand side?
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because Doherty, never in a million years would I've said, blimey, if we look back 3 months and I'm thinking, no chance, no, it ain't going to work. It's got to go. And now he looks settled. And it is confidence, because this is what's happened with Reguilon as well. When he came in, I mean, this was the guy, wasn't it? I mean, We're thinking this is exactly what we want. Yep. And then as things started going bad, then you could see that his confidence was shot. There was no question about it. And it definitely affected him. So now this is the make or break time, I think, for him. And if he gets a run in, and especially if Doherty's out, I mean, I don't know whether Sessegnon's going to get a play. I'd personally give Reguilon a run now if that's the case. And this is going to be the make or break as to whether it's going to work for him, because we've seen both sides of him. We've seen how good he can be. We've also seen how bad he can be. So now, hopefully he can push on, because I think there's a place for him here. I really do. I mean, there's players that have left, and I haven't had any argument with any of them. I know the old Dele Alli crowd, and I wish he was here. No. That ship sailed as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. But with Reguilon, that's still, we're still wait to see. But there's a player there. There's definitely a player there. So we just need to see him push on. That's all.
It's interesting, Frankie, coming over to you, because Reguilon, even here in the comments, it's really splitting the opinion. Some favouring Sessegnon, some feel Reguilon, it might be just time that he needs. Frank, where do you sit on that debate on the left-hand side?
I think there is a player in there. It's my opinion, to be honest with you, because some weeks and some games you watch him, particularly under Mourinho, he looked brilliant. And he hasn't looked as good this season. He's a little bit erratic, as many are saying in the comments, and I think we'll all agree with that. His composure, particularly in the final third, needs to improve. And there was a spell 3 or 4 games ago that went on for a few games that Harry Kane laid him in 3 or 4 times. He should have scored 4 goals. And he just doesn't seem to have that composure in front of goal. And I don't know, when they were both fit, he seemed to prefer Sessegnon as well, Conte, but he seems to be a bit too injury prone. So I still personally think the 2 main positions in this side, I'd keep Matt Doherty and I'd keep Reguilon. And this is just personal. And I would get rid of Sessegnon, I'd get rid of Emerson Royale, and I'd spend whatever we can on 2 unbelievable top quality wing backs. I don't know who they are, but Conte might have someone in mind, because I still believe that as well as Matt Doherty's been doing, he has been brilliant over the last 6 or 7 games. He has. There's no denying that. He's improved so much. But I still think to take us to the next level, to close the gap with Liverpool and City and the levels that they're hitting, we need better in both. We do. We need wing backs who are going to contribute numbers and have more quality on the ball. And when they get in those positions, they hurt teams. And I don't think any of the 4 that we've got at the moment, I know Doherty, again, he has been doing well, so maybe I'm being a bit harsh on Doherty's recent form, but I just feel that we could do better in those positions. And if we did get better players at both wing backs, again, I mean, look at the way that the team's playing. You could argue that we're playing this style of football without capable wing backs, particularly on the left-hand side. Again, I don't want to be too harsh and critical on Reguilon and Doherty, but it's a fact. And if we're going to compare ourselves, because this is the aspirations that the club have apparently to get back to competing for titles and so on. You look at Liverpool's wing backs, you look at City's wing backs, you look at the fullbacks at Chelsea, Reece James, Ben Chilwell when he's fit. They're not of that quality. They're not. And I think we could upgrade both, Rick, to be honest with you.
Now, interesting. I mean, again, many will agree with the thoughts you there, Frankie. Jake, I'm over to you just as we look to come bring the show to a close. Listen, Højbjerg, as you discussed earlier, leading that Spurs line in the centre of the pitch, really battling, soaking up some tackles as well. It was a really big performance on the day. And I mean, as Paul politely reminded me earlier, that's apparently tattoos on his thighs. Definitely not any blows from the Villa players. Jake, thoughts on that midfield alongside Bentancur? Just seems to be working at the moment, doesn't it, without Skip?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible, really, that now actually I don't sort of envy Conte having to make that decision when Skip's back as to who he plays, and Skip's going to have to do some work to get back in that team, I guess, because it's working, isn't it? I mean, I think we're all excited in the long term to see Skip and Bentancur in the middle, but ultimately, I don't know what Conte will go for or who will be the strongest two. I've loved watching Højbjerg sort of be able to play his own game rather than sort of babysitting. I just don't know what will happen when we've got all three. What I will say is actually, and what will benefit us a lot, is this new rule with the substitutions, because it does mean you've got more of a squad and it sort of changes the game. Sort of football, obviously, as we all know, sort of adapts anyway. When it was Beckham, it was all about having a big, that sort of person on the right crossing them in. But now, we've got wing backs that people like to have. I feel like the game's going to change a lot. Where actually the idea of a squad and that depth could be a bit like American football, I guess you could argue. Yeah. And you sort of got different teams and formations and ways that you can play. A bit like us earlier, sort of going to just the front three for a while. You just sort of have to adapt to whatever's happening around you. But I feel like it could be that, Højbjerg's there to do a job. He'll hold up when the game's a bit dirty. I feel like he's exactly who you want in there. It is a bit like he's going to war. And maybe when you want a bit more finesse, you've got the likes of Bentancur and Skip, who, when he's feeling confident, can create a lot more, I think, than people give him credit for. He was doing it a lot at Norwich. I felt like maybe he's just a bit tentative when he's been playing, but maybe Bentancur will open it up for him. I don't know. Yeah. What I will say is, going back to the wing backs and the talk of getting rid of them, I feel like what Tottenham fans and the club suffer with is having to sort of, and they don't do, and they say to sort of kill your darlings. And it's good to do that. And I feel like we've struggled a bit with that in the past. We get a bit sentimental about players. But a perfect example of when that's good to do is looking at Kulusevski. We all love Lucas Moura. Lucas Moura brought us those nights, and that night in Ajax, Lucas Moura has done amazingly. Lucas Moura writes scores, and we love it. But ultimately, sometimes if they're not just there and they're not providing and doing their job, it is about upgrading. None of us really wanted to see Jan Vertonghen go. None of us want to see Toby go, but we've ended up with Romero. I feel have to be, as a club, have to be a bit more cutthroat.
Yep.
If
we really want to develop and up there. And I feel like people were maybe complaining a little bit when they offered Sessegnon a new contract, and the players were saying there's been a couple of good games. Has he really earned it? And I think that's the right mindset that the club needs. That actually you've got to really deliver, because if there is just those little bits around, isn't it? It's those two players that if you can upgrade them, it makes the entire thing work so much better, especially with someone like Conte who knows exactly what he wants from the machine.
I think, Jake, you make a really good point, because if you look at people like Alex Ferguson did it, and Bill Nicholson was probably the first one to do it at Spurs. Yeah. When players, you think, hold on, these are players that are at the top of their game. So why would they go? And they move them out because they see what's coming, that maybe we're going to keep them one season too long. And I think that's a really good point, to identify that at the right point and then move them on. And it's us as fans that are thinking, we love this player. How can this be happening? They're playing so well, but we're not looking probably as far in front as maybe a manager or someone that would deal in that situation would be. So I'm with you 100%.
We've done it with Delhi. We've done it with Delhi. We should have.
Well, no, I don't think we did do it with Delhi, because I think Delhi would have been before that, because he hadn't played a good game for me for 2 years. I think it wasn't early. I think it was late.
I'm saying with Delhi, we should have done that 3 years ago with Delhi.
I see. Sorry. Yeah.
We were far too sentimental in keeping him.
I see. Absolutely right.
100%. The older days of his tenure at Spurs.
Yeah. But what I love is Conte's quote where he says, Delhi returned, he said, there's not many players that get revenge on me when I allow a player to go. Almost like he knows the right time to let players go. And you do feel with Conte that he does seem to know. He can spot, when a player is right to go. Paul, very quick on that midfield. Listen, we talked about Højbjerg's battling, soaking up some of the tackles. Bentancur as well, another really composed performance from him. Paul, when Skip does eventually come back, have we got a decision to make there? Would you leave it as it is for the moment? Thoughts on that for you, Paul?
No, I think I've seen on some of the comments there of people saying, bring him back slowly, which is right. We've got to look after him because he's very, very well thought of at the club. I did a thing with Michael Dawson recently, and he was saying, and someone was saying, who's the best young player that you've seen? And I don't think it was even just at Spurs. And he absolutely loves Skip and thinks this kid is really the real deal, and we've got to look after him. And for me, I'd have him over Højbjerg any day of the week. I would. I mean, I know Højbjerg works hard, but for me, I think we can go a little bit. It might be controversial with some people, but he's a good player. But I like Oliver Skip more, and I think we can do better in the middle, to be honest with you.
No, that's fair. I think where Spurs are going now, I mean, listen, if the club are going to be playing Champions League football, then it does mean we are going to have to upgrade several parts of the squad. You've maybe argued that's going to be one area if Spurs do want to push on. Just want to finish, guys, on Harry Kane. Frankie, listen, what's funny about Kane? He really struggled, I think, to make an impact in that first half. But even when Spurs players at the moment aren't performing well, they still seem to be contributing. Again today added an assist soon after that kind of spinning header into Son's path. But I mean, overall, sorry, I must say, it was actually 2 more assists and a big contribution in the second half overall. Frankie, Harry Kane, I said 12 goals scored. He's not scoring, but he's still providing some really good performances in there, isn't he? Second half especially.
That back flick header was outrageous. It was outrageous because he had a little look around. He knew exactly where Sonny was running, and to execute it with a little weight of pass off the head, perfect. It's beautiful. And we've been so reliant on his goals for so long, and it just feels nice now that the goals are being shared around. We've got a proper front three. But on Harry Kane, the individual, the player, the man, I can't say anything more. I've just run out of superlatives, and I still can't get my head around I still think he's underrated by many, and he doesn't get the credit he deserves. He is a world-class player. He's one of the best in the world for me. Lewandowski can't do what he does without the chances he gets, and he plays for Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga. They bought Leipzig, who were their nearest rivals. They bought their captain and their manager last season. It's the biggest one-team league in the world. And he puts up ridiculous numbers because obviously he's going to. And Benzema, I know Benzema's brilliant. That goal against Chelsea the other night, the 1-2 with Vinicius, was unbelievable. But he hasn't got that. He hasn't got all the clubs, the golf clubs. Kane gets out. I know he loves golf, so it's probably a good little analogy there. But he does. He gets out his golf clubs, and he can ping anything. 6-iron, 7-iron, driver, left, right, 40 yards, 50 yards. He's got every pass in the book at the moment. And what more can we say about Harry Kane? Us Tottenham fans know exactly what he's about and how good he is. And they can keep trying to put him down. They can keep trying to say that he's not a world-class talent. He's not one of the best in the world. But we know he is unbelievable. And I just love watching him play for my club.
Because who cares? Who cares if it's not him that's scoring the goal? Because he has a hand in probably every goal that we're scoring. Somewhere along the way, the only person that's going to be particularly disappointed is either Harry to think he's not on the score sheet, or some of the other fools from other clubs that are looking over and saying, "Oh, well, he doesn't score many goals. He's out of form." And saying, "Yeah, but have you seen the guy play?" So he's got a hand in everything. So whether he's scoring, I don't care. As long as the balls are going in the other net and he's got a hand in it, then what's the problem?
All our play goes through him. Everything goes through Kane at some point, whether it's deep in the build-up, whether he's the one that executes the pass to put us on the break, or whether he's getting the pre-assist, as they now call it, or the assist. Everything goes through Kane. So even when he's not scoring goals, he's always massively contributing. And that is the beauty of Kane at the moment. He's letting others get the goals, but he's still the dictator, the man of the team. He's still the best player we've got. But for me, he's top class.
Yeah. Jake, anything to add on Harry Kane there?
Yeah, go back to Frank's golf analogy. As I was saying earlier about Romero, there's these players that are physically good, and then there's these players that also have that mental ability as well. That Harry Kane has. He's got the clubs, but he's also he's his own caddy. He doesn't need somebody teaching him what to do. He just knows exactly what's needed. And it's just it's finesse. It's just like he's playing on cheat mode. And I felt like today, Tottenham as a team had to play on like difficult mode. It's like that ref had decided Villa will have it easy. I will stop every time a Villa player, you touch a Villa player, you have to stop the game. It was ridiculous. But Kane's running around and watching it. He's got this thing he does. You know, the outside of the boot, sort of curling through ball he'll give to it's often to like regular, it's often to the left wing back, I found. And it's just so perfect. You'd go, who wouldn't want to be running onto that ball? Who wouldn't want to be playing alongside him? And I've said it before when they say the issue is no other strikers want to come to Tottenham because they can't play because of Kane. I go, well, then what's wrong with your mentality? Because you should want to go, I want to go and play alongside the best there is.
Yeah. Yep.
It should be one of the main reasons people want to come to the club, not stopping them coming.
No, I agree. I mean, I say
he's a player. I
agree.
I haven't got the golf on anymore.
He was. I mean, listen. I mean, we all say with Kane. You know, I know he. Apart from Spurs fans, and I know this is one thing. I think as all Spurs fans, we vouch for now. Kane. For me, I've always said he's the complete striker. You know, he's not just a finisher anymore. Kane. When you look at his build-up play, what he contributes overall, it does stagger me. And I maybe shouldn't be staggered by rival fans that can't just appreciate what this guy brings to football, not just goals, the ability to change games, the mental strength. And I think, again, the only thing we are missing with Kane, and please God, we'll win them next season, is those finals, to show up at a final. Because I know that's obviously been levelled at him, that he's not been there, you know, at the big games. But ultimately, Paul, I mean, listen, we know, Paul, that Spurs need to get to those finals, hopefully more, for Kane to prove that. And I've always said with Kane that if he wins it with Tottenham, it's going to be much more than anywhere else, Paul, doesn't it?
Of course it is. And it's, has he got anything to prove? Does he need to prove how good he is by what he's won? Now, this is something I think which is personal to the player, that you finish your career and then come to the end of it and say, you know, what have I won? That's the old thing that they'll say on TV. But as far as, you know, as far as a player, it doesn't make him any less of a player. It's like talking about Lionel Messi. Okay, he's never won the World Cup. Does that make him a lesser player? Of course it doesn't. He's one of the greatest there's ever lived. You know, this is now down to Harry to think whether he wants to stay because he's happy at Spurs. Yeah. I know for a fact that under Nuno, then there was a wobble and thinking, where are we going? He needs to know where we're going. But I also know that now under Conte that he knows that there's something on. So he doesn't want to leave. He like you say, he wants to win things at Tottenham Hotspur. This is his club. His whole family is Spurs. He loves Spurs. He doesn't want to go anywhere. But obviously when it's a job and it's a career, then you've got to be thinking, okay, well, when I get to this age, maybe if I want to win things. But I think now he sees it probably more than we do, that we have a great chance. Next couple of years now, I mean, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but we're seeing something now, Ricky. I think we all agree. We are now seeing those shoots come through now in the spring, and hopefully by the summer there's going to be more. And by the time we get to next season, we're going to be a real team ready to go and really have a challenge. So let's just keep our fingers crossed and hope so, because I really am beginning to believe it now until we lose to Brighton next Saturday. Until then, I'm believing it. We're going to be fine.
Well, I think, listen, that is the perfect way to kind of conclude things. I mean, we must say Lucas did come on late for Son. And I think we also saw Son was so disappointed to come off. He wanted to stay on there for another God knows how much longer.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that great? But that's great. Yeah. That's what you want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. I totally agree. Lovely to see it. Big shout out to Darren Altman, bless him. Darren, we've got Darren joining us in the next few weeks. Lovely friend of the show, Darren. And as Mark says,
top bloke, Darren.
Loving Coyte's positivity. Don't we love it as well? Bergwijn came on for a very, very short cameo in those final minutes. Didn't really make much happen. But listen, with Bergwijn, you feel that if he's given opportunities, as he's shown in the national team, he will get goals and get assists. And that's what Spurs needed. They needed a strong squad at the end of the day. Guys, been a wonderful show. Thank you so much for joining us on a Saturday night special. I think we had nearly over 1,000, 1,200 of you watching us live throughout the last hour and a half. So all you got to do now is tell your missus or whoever you got to watch Match of the Day now. So no pressure. No, don't blame us. It's not our fault.
Can I?
So we had a couple of viewers and listeners from Australia as well, which is fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much. Come on, Jake. In you come.
Oh, thanks for watching.
Hey.
Can I just say something? I wanted to say this. It was quite amazing. I was at the Comedy Store last weekend, doing the Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I was doing the whole weekend, and I woke up on Saturday morning, and Todd Klein had followed me. Obviously, the guy that's come in to get the naming rights sorted for the stadium. and he followed me on Twitter. And I thought he was doing a bit of a charm offensive, going around following all the fans. So I followed him back, and I had a message in my inbox, and he was at my gig, and he's invited me to the Brighton game next week to watch it.
Ooh, very nice.
With him
Yeah.
in the box.
No.
So I don't know what sort of experience I'm going to have. But if anybody wants me to pass on any messages to Daniel Levy, let me know. Unbelievable. Such a lovely guy. And he messaged, he said he enjoyed, because I talked about being a Tottenham fan on stage, because I think it's good to get some heckles in early. And and he obviously appreciated the fact that I was talking about it, and he's invited me along. So me and my dad are going to be sort of his special guest for the Brighton game. So
Fantastic.
I just thought such an amazing, he's a lovely man, basically. This guy we've got, I just thought that's such a nice touch and a lovely thing to do. And I could have got to leave it. I've been sort of beaming all week, but yeah, amazing.
Jake, if he says to you when you see him, hey, Jake, you're interested in hosting halftime, just say no, okay? No, thanks. Not that I'd appreciate that.
Well,
thanks.
what I did think.
It can't be any worse than the guy that got in to replace you, Coyte.
Go on, Jake.
Well, what I did think about doing is because they have to sort the naming rights. And I thought, well, currently there's nobody. It's just the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So I thought, if I just give him 200 quid, that's 200 quid they don't have. And they could just call it the Jake Lambert Stadium for a week.
Yeah.
I thought it's 200 quid they don't have. It might help.
They might need to improve the Wi-Fi. That's anything, Jake, if they take over.
Yeah.
we might need to go to 7G if that's possible. So no pressure. But if no one's getting Wi-Fi in that stadium and Paul needs to get a signal in there to message someone, it's on you. No pressure
There you
at all.
go.
Jake, on the back of your...
good job I got the message.
Jake, on the back of your stand-up comedian performance, where can we find you on social media?
Well, good luck. I might be posted on there for a couple of weeks. But I'll send it tonight. It should come out by next year. But I'll be all over. I'm all over. Social, that little lost lad, Jake Lambert. You know where to find me.
Amazing.
And I will
Jake,
get my Wi-Fi sorted, so I will be on there.
Fantastic. We'll see you, Jake, for when we've appointed Santini next summer. Top man. Brilliant.
It'll end in tears. It'll end in tears.
It will. I shouldn't say that. He might be here come August. The way you never know with Tottenham. You never know. Frankie
Did you see there was a horse international called Santini, which interestingly fell at the second fence. All the irony was unbelievable, wasn't it?
Isn't that apt? Isn't it just so
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Honestly, fantastic. Frankie Major back with us for the Arsenal game, where hopefully we're quite a few points clear. I'm not sure it's going to work that night. We're all going to have to try and attempt to get back from the stadium to record. So whatever happens, it will be a comedy show in there somewhere. And maybe who knows where Jake will be on that night, popping up somewhere. Degree, he'll probably be next to Todd Klein, as he said. So we'll have to wait and see on that
isn't
one.
it? It's my birthday, and I'm going to have a few beers, but I've committed to the show. I'm not obviously going to get too drunk, and I'll be on the show, and I look forward to it because I've asked Ricky for the Arsenal game all season. So I look forward to being back. Long may this form continue. I think we're in a good place. It's a good time to be a Spurs fan, and great to do the show with people I hadn't before, Jake, and obviously the legend that is Paul Coyte, who every Spurs fan is happy, overly happy that we've got the man back where he belongs. And we love our half times with Paul Coyte. There's no one better, and I'm glad he's back.
Aren't we all? The wonderful Paul Coyte. Lovely. Listen, Frankie, firstly, we're looking forward to sharing our birthday with you on what will hopefully be a very good North London derby for Tottenham. We're hoping, fingers crossed, the wonderful Frankie Major. So much love for him. Coyte, I think there are nearly 1,200, 1,300 people watching us live tonight. Incredible. Yep. Lots of love for you. Love to have you back where you belong, Paul. Anything you want to say?
Well, thanks for the support. Is all I can say because I know you've supported that all along. So thank you very much. I've got. See, this is a tricky one. I'm doing a series of shows on Talk Sport, My Sporting Life, where I had Jurgen Klinsmann on a couple of weeks ago. But I've got one tomorrow. But it's Peter Schmeichel, so it's an hour with Peter Schmeichel. But Les Ferdinand is coming up, so it is strange how between us, 2 of the 6 happen to be old Spurs players, and maybe in the next series it might be the same again. Pure coincidence, but what can you say? Anyway, that's tomorrow night at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, but it is the Tottenham Hotspur compere doing the show, so bloody come on, give us a listen.
Yeah. Give us a favour. Yeah, do us a favour.
The wonderful Paul Coyte. Listen, love to have Paul back on. Been great having
guys.
Paul
Thanks
back
for
on
asking
the
me.
Last Word on Spurs. Guys, from Paul, from Jake, from Frankie, from me, guys, have a wonderful Saturday evening. You can ask whichever the match of the day. As always, keep safe, keep well, and as always, come on you Spurs.